Welcome to another episode in my monthly wrap up series. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to speed through this video because I'm expecting some company soon. So I'm really going to have to go through these pretty quick. I don't know when my company is going to show up. They could show up anytime. So I wanted to get this video out of the way before I'm too busy enough to do it. So, kicking this video off, we have The Hobbit. I finally read The Hobbit after a long time of wanting to do it or wanting to read it. I've been wanting to read Lord of the Rings for a long time now. And, since I just started getting into fantasy really heavy the last few months, it's been at the top of my list, and I finally got around to reading it. So this is about a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins, and he's not adventurous at all. But Gandalf comes and he tells him about this adventure he wants him to join in on with these dwarves, and they're gonna go and get some treasure and from this dragon Smog. So that's what this book's about. It's got like little adventures in it, little mini adventures while they're going on this big adventure. And there was parts in it I really liked, and some parts that I thought was a little slow. But other than that, I enjoyed the book. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Next, we have The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now, this book contains 3 stories. It's got the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde first, and then like 2 other ones. I read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and the second story in it, but the last one was I DNF'd the last one because this one character, though, like the way it's written, it's hard to read what the hell he's saying. And so I was really having some trouble getting through that, and I was just really not in the mood for it, so I DNF'd it. So I'm counting it as a book that I read because I have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in a book by itself. So what's the difference? I'll just count it as a book. Dang it. So next, I read another Linwood Barclay book, Bad Guys, and this is the second book in the Zach Walker series. Because last time I talked about one of these books, I said Jack Walker, and so I remembered to say the right name. I don't know why I called him Jack, because I've read nothing about a Jack or a person named Jack. So this, in each book, Zach's always getting himself into trouble, and this series is reminding me of the Jack Reacher series, and there's a Jack. No, I said Zach. Yeah, never mind. It was starting to remind me of the Jack Reacher series, because the Jack Reacher series has like over 20 something books in it, and that's all he does is find himself getting into trouble that he's not looking for. But this one I can give a free pass on because Zach is actually kind of looking for it sometimes, and he does stupid things that gets himself into trouble. So I give it a free pass. But in this book, there's this strange boy falling around his daughter, and he's worried about it, about this guy. He doesn't know if he's dangerous, and his daughter doesn't seem to take it that serious. She keeps telling him that there's nothing to worry about. And Zach has this feeling, so he starts following his daughter, and then there's this other story, and where he's helping this detective, this PI. He's like going with this PI on like stakeouts and stuff. Zach works for a newspaper, so he's writing an article about this private investigator, and so he's going and helping him. Well, not really helping him, but he's going out with him and just like taking notes and stuff and going to write an article about him. But this book was really good. I was flying through the pages because this is a large print, and I forgot how much I missed these types of books. But yeah, I guess I'll give this one a 4.5 out of 5. It had a silly like villain. The villain was like this big tough guy, but he collected Barbie dolls, and there's like a little backstory on that, why he did that, and it made it make more sense. But I don't know, I just couldn't really take him serious, a big tough guy collecting Barbie dolls. I mean, if that's your thing, go, do it. I don't care, but it's just hard for me to take him serious. But so I read the next book in the series, which was Lone Wolf, another Zach Walker book. Okay, I had to make sure I said that right. But this one's probably my least favorite out of the 4 in the series. This one, Zach hears about like his dad being killed by a bear, and they don't really know if it's his dad. And his dad like lives out in this country, the country part of like the state or whatever. He has to like drive an hour and a half away from the city where his dad lives, and they can't really identify the body, but they think it's Zach's dad because he's been missing for a while. Well, I say a while, but he's been missing for like maybe 12, 15 hours. And so Zach goes up there and he looks at this like half-eaten body, and so he thinks it's his dad. He's going through emotions like, holy shit, my dad's dead. And then his dad pulls up in a taxi, and so he's been off with this woman. And so yeah, then there's these like neighbors, this like psychotic family that lives nearby Zach's dad, and Zach's dad owns all this property, so he also owns the house that these crazy neighbors are living in, but he's scared of them. He doesn't want them to live there, but he's scared to kick them out because he don't want to cause problems. The guy Timmy is really intimidating, and they have these pit bulls. And speaking of the pit bulls, there was this one character that seen the dead body that was eaten by the bear, and she said it didn't look like a bear did it, that it looked like dogs did it. So then, Zach starts suspecting that these pit bulls did it because they're mean as fuck, mean and vicious, and like they're always snapping at you and stuff, and just barking their fucking heads off. And Timmy also has this daughter that he won't let leave. She don't want to be there, and she's also scared of him. And she has a son, and Timmy is like brainwashing him, telling him racist and homophobic stuff, and like brainwashing him. And he also has these other 2 sons well, they're not really his sons, they're his wife's sons from another marriage or whatever, and he's already brainwashed them. They're just like Timmy. But yeah, that's what this book's about. Like, it's Zach trying to like deal with all of this, and yeah, it's my least favorite because Zach's wife and son and daughter wasn't in the book, and I really like them as characters. They're in the other three books. And see, when I started reading this series, I read the fourth book first because I didn't know it was a part of a series. And so, I'm out of books now. I don't have to read it, as I already did earlier this year. But yeah, and this book also ends with a cliffhanger. So it doesn't stand on its own. You would have to read the other two books to know what's going on in this one, because, well, not to know what's going on, but there's things that are mentioned in this book that you won't know anything about if you haven't read the previous two books in the series. And the same thing with book two. But yeah, I'm gonna give that one a 3.5 out of 5. I was just really disappointed with not having the other characters I got so used to in the other three books. They were absent in this one. But the family I thought was really scary, and it even got to where, um, this book was bridging on being a horror book at one point. So that was really cool to see Linwood Barclay like kind of writing horror in this one particular scene in the book, and I really enjoyed that. And I think Linwood Barclay would be pretty good at writing horror, like if he just wanted to try that. And he may have, I don't know. I haven't read all of his books, and I don't own them all. But yeah, the last book I read of the month is Frankenstein, and I just did a movie review on it the other day. And that's the reason why I watched it, because I was reading the book and because I want to start reviewing all the Universal Monster movies here soon. But so Frankenstein, everybody knows this story, but I'll tell it. So Victor Frankenstein is this mad scientist. He's stealing body parts from cemeteries, and he's putting them together, and he wants to give this human life. He wants to bring a human back to life, and so he does. In the book, because I don't need to get things confused with the movie that I just saw. In the book, he regrets like making him, because the monster starts killing people he knows, like his son William, and the monster wants to be human. He's wanting to make friends with people, especially this family in this village. He's been watching and observing, learning their language, and he couldn't talk at first. He had to. He learned how to talk, learn English through this family he was watching, and he finally decides to talk to the blind man once, like, the family leaves. It leaves the granddad, I think, there at the house, this blind old man, and the monster decides to go in and talk to this old man while the rest of the family's gone, and so he tells him that everybody runs from him, and he has this family that he wants to be friends with, and they live close to where they are now, where the monster in this blind man is now. And so yeah, it was good. You feel sorry for the monster. And one thing I want to mention is, while reading this book, I came across a lot of wretched, like the word wretched, or wretchedness, or wretch, or something like that. Like Mary Shelley, the author of the book, she must have really loved that fucking word, because that was every other paragraph you would come across that word, and I'm like, damn, that's kind of getting annoying. But yeah, it's there's a lot of wretched in this book. Like I said, every other paragraph you come across that word. But other than that, it's a really good book to read, like around Halloween time, and that's the reason why I wanted to read the book last. But yeah, it's a classic for a reason, and I really love it. It's one of my favorite horror books. But I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. So anyway, guys, that's it for this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.